the honourable member for Surrey North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, it's an honour to speak on behalf of my constituents from Surrey North. Mr. Speaker, I've been patiently trying to listen to the gibberish that's coming out from the government benches. But especially, I think they're allergic to facts. So I'm going to try to focus on some of the facts or misfacts that have been represented by the government side. And I will be speaking to a number of issues during this bill. I too had a chance to speak at the second reading on to Bill C-4, and I was hoping that some of the discussion that took place in this House and also in the committee, that the Conservatives would take that into account to maybe make some amendments to the bill. Unfortunately, as usual, they have failed to do that. Mr. Speaker, this is after summer, after proroguing this Parliament, they were going to reset the button and restart their engines and work for Canadians. Unfortunately, that month that was lost, I don't think the Conservatives learned anything from the summer prorogation, or they listened to Canadians. It's unfortunate. I think they never actually got outside of the Ottawa bubble to talk to the people in the constituencies, talk to the people with real issues, real problems. I think the Conservatives never left Ottawa because, guess what? We started from the same place that we left off in June, which is basically the government has lost basically track of Canadian priorities, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'll tell you what the Canadian priorities are. Canadian priorities are jobs for our youth, young people that are unemployed. We have a really high unemployment rate for our young people, training for our young people. They talk about hiring tax credit $1,000. We're saying let's increase that to $2,000 for the small businesses so we can get young people trained and hired by small businesses. As we, Conservatives will talk about, small businesses are the economic engine of this economy. I agree with them. But what have they done? Nothing. Nothing at all, Mr. Speaker. They failed to deliver of what they're saying in this House over and over. I've seen this over and over again, Mr. Speaker. Other Canadian priorities, they're focused on high debt ratio for our households. That's a huge issue, Mr. Speaker. Last week, I had a chance to talk to the representatives of FCM. I had a number of mayors, a number of councillors from British Columbia come and visit me, and guess what their priorities was? Their number one priority was the housing crunch that's coming in this country. And yet, in this bill here, we don't see that, Mr. Speaker. They're not addressing that. Their number two priority was infrastructure money for the infrastructure that is basically been neglected by this government over the years. The infrastructure money that has not been given to municipalities so that we can have flourishing businesses, moving our goods and transportation, people on these infrastructure projects and creating well-paying jobs, local jobs, Mr. Speaker. That's not in this but in this bill, Mr. Speaker. The third priority that the FCM representatives, these are local people, councillors from my municipality, councillors from Vancouver. There's other people from throughout British Columbia. Their priority was safety for rail safety. And that's not being addressed by this government. So, again, Mr. Speaker, I'm guessing that the Conservatives never left the bubble. It's time that they went back to the constituencies and talked to the real people. And I'll tell you, Mr. Speaker, the real people are talking to me. I've talked to hundreds of people, and they're very concerned. They're concerned about the changes that are being in this bill. In particular, the safety of the workers that's being denigrated in this bill. Mr. Speaker, I've had a number of constituents talk to me personally, and they've emailed me. And I'll quote you from an email that I've received from one of my constituents, Mr. Speaker. This is the last lines on their email. These amendments will turn back the clock on worker health and safety, endanger lives. I strongly urge you as my MP to oppose these amendments and to insist these provisions be removed from Bill C-4. These proposed changes will lead to a higher number of deaths and injuries of Canadian workers. Guess who's saying this? This is a person from my constituency. I have, Mr. Speaker, I have names: Narinder Gill, Paul Belanger, Shelby Carpenter, Emily Stockhouse, Gushan Shergill, Sharanjit Grewal, Kel Atwell, Lisa Klinstra, Lawrence Cameron, and Kim Buss. And I have many, many more emails, many more names, real people on the ground who are concerned about health and safety of Canadian workers. And yet, this government is not addressing those issues, Mr. Speaker. And, you know, Mr. Speaker, I constantly hear from the Conservatives. They talk about how they're good managers of the economy, how well they're doing, how they're lowering the taxes. Well, guess what, Mr. Speaker? During their last 6-7 years, guess what the debt load is? How much debt they have put on Canadians? $100 billion. And I'll use their analogy. For a family of 4, that's $12,000 for every family that they have put the extra debt on Canadians. That's their record, Mr. Speaker. That is a load they're leaving for our future generation. My kids. I have 2 kids, Mr. Speaker, and they're burdening my kids, every Canadian family's kids, for future, Mr. Speaker. Let's talk about trade. Well, Mr. Speaker, when they came into government, we had a trade surplus of $26 billion. And guess what the trade surplus is? Oh, well, no, actually, it's not a surplus now. It's a deficit, $62 billion. You know, they talk about how we are going to expand trade, how we're going to reach new markets, yet their record under this government is that we've gone from trade surplus of $26 billion and we've gone to $62 billion in trade deficit. Mr. Speaker, you know, we had a trade committee meeting this morning, and we had a representative from the Canadian Council of Chief Executives, and I asked her a question. And I asked her, you know, I said, well, are tariffs on goods coming into a tax? And she said, absolutely. The tariffs that are goods coming into this country are tax on Canadian families. And yes, guess what, Mr. Speaker? What this government has done, they have taken 70 countries out of a tax bracket for certain goods. What that means is goods coming from these countries will have a tariff, which in turn is basically tax on Canadians. Goods such as everyday goods that families use, clothes, spices. I know my family uses lots of spices. There's consumer goods, and they talk about their consumer agenda, Mr. Speaker. The actual agenda they have is additional tax through tariffs on Canadian families. That's their true record. That is their true record, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, there's many other issues that they had a chance to address in this Bill C-4. They had a chance to create real jobs, help our young families, help working class families, yet they have failed to deliver on this over and over. They've had a chance to recalibrate over the summer, yet they haven't listened to Canadians at all, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, even over the summer, we've had, we thought they would learn from their previous mistakes in regards to omnibus bills, but yet, guess what they do when they come back? They bring another omnibus bill, and yes, this is not a 200-page bill. This is a 300-page bill, and it addresses 70 different legislations. And Mr. Speaker, that is, they need to break that up so that we can have a true picture of how it's going to be affecting Canadian families and Canadian businesses, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I know I've got very little time. Again, I would like to sum it up. They say one thing in this House, yet they do exactly the opposite. I think the Conservatives are allergic to facts and research. Mr. Speaker, the true facts are they have a terrible record on economics. They have a terrible record in regards to deficit. They have a $100 billion deficit over the time they've been in government. They have a terrible record on trade. And, Mr. Speaker, they are not listening to Canadian families. They are not working for Canadians. They need to put the interest of Canadian families creating jobs, which they have failed to do, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.